Hey, good morning guys. It's Rygo here from Kite. Just getting into work here on this Wednesday morning. This is Bandito, my little Baja mutt. Anyway, I've been working here at Kite for about 6 years as an instructor. The last 3 years I have been working full-time in the shop, and for the last year I've been working on the videos, so working with the guys in the shop to put videos out, working with Blake and Crystal to put out video blogs every Thursday and Friday, and I decided it was time for me to start getting in front of the camera myself. So you can catch me every Wednesday just doing kiteboarding related topics. This week we're going to start with kite versus kite, and I think we'll focus on that series for a little while, just doing some kite comparisons just to get the ball rolling. We're actually going to head up to our studio here, and you know, we may film in the studio every week, we may film in the shop, sometimes we'll be at the beach, so it'll be a little different every time, but you can expect me every Wednesday. You know, and I'm more than happy to take requests and talk about what you guys want to hear and learn. So yeah, let's get to it. Hey, what's up guys? It's Rygo here from Kite, and I'm here today to talk to you about the difference between the Cabrinha Switchblade and the Cabrinha FX. Now, both of these kites are performance freeride kites, but they're also very different. The best way that I could describe this to you is you can imagine the Switchblade as an automatic transmission, while the FX would be more akin to like a manual transmission. So all that really means is the Switchblade is going to do more of the work for you, while the FX is going to take more rider feedback and skill essentially to get results from it. So this can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on what you want to get out of your ride. New riders should definitely look to the Switchblade, while intermediate to advanced riders could look to the Switchblade or the FX depending on what you want to get out of your kite. So the Switchblade is going to be, as I said, more of an autopilot feel, great upwind ability, really easy to use, going to do a lot of the work for you. While the FX is going to be for that rider looking to do kite loops, unhooked riding, a little more advanced, you know, willing to make some trade-offs for the performance gains. So if you push your riding as far as you could possibly take it, you're getting a little bit bored, you know, you don't plan on learning any more new tricks, but you just want something different, something to experiment with, and just kind of learning some new skills, then you might want to check out the FX. On the other hand, if you live somewhere with gusty conditions, or you really love just feeling powered up, you just want that powered ride, you know, you're that rider that goes out there and just, you know, loves to be a little bit overpowered, then you're going to want to be on the Switchblade. Now, the first thing to consider between these two kites is the wind range. The Switchblade is going to have a much bigger wind range, really in contrast to most other kites, not just versus the FX here. You know, for your average 180-pound rider on, say, a 12-meter, you know, you could push that as low as 11 miles per hour. And, you know, for some people who are a little daring, even up to 24 miles per hour. Whereas, like with the FX, you're going to have a reduced wind range, and that's one of the trade-offs that you get for performance. So to give you a perspective here, you know, if you're used to flying a 12-meter Switchblade, you're actually going to want to pick up a 14-meter FX to get the same low end. You know, another thing to consider is when you get holes in the wind or when the wind gets a bit lighter, that Switchblade is really going to power through and pull you upwind and just keep you riding, whereas the FX, you're going to have to use board speed, and you're actually going to have to work that kite. And I don't know if you're familiar with signing the kite, but more or less you're signing your kite, you're working it. It takes a bit of time and skill to learn this, and once you get it, it's not a big deal. So another thing to consider between these two kites is jumping. That said, both these kites are going to be great jumpers, but it is a bit different. So the Switchblade, it's really a pull and go kite, and all that means is when you're cruising, you pretty much pull the bar, pop, you're good to go, you're going up. Whereas with the FX, it comes back to that manual transmission. So you're going to need to use board speed, there's a little bit of timing involved. When you're riding and you want to jump, you know, there's a certain time where it's optimal to release your edge when you're pulling that bar in to jump. And that's going to take a little bit of getting used to. Once you do though, it's pretty fun. So all that said, with the FX, you actually have a lot of potential for airtime, but it is going to take more skill. So just remember that you're going to have to get that board speed, you're going to have to work the kite, you're going to have to learn when to release your edge and when to pop to get the optimal height out of that kite. But when you do, the FX is a great jumper. So something else to consider between these two kites would be the upwind ability. Now, right back to that wind range thing, the same thing, the Switchblade, it's going to ride upwind better. It sits further forward in the wind window, it rides upwind easier. When there's a hole in the wind, it's just going to pull you right through. However, the FX, it's not that far behind. And again, it just comes back to skill. It's going to take more skill to get upwind on the FX. back to that analogy I made about the manual transmission versus the automatic transmission. So the FX definitely doesn't ride upwind as well as the Switchblade, but I certainly wouldn't say that it doesn't ride upwind well. The FX is actually surprisingly good at riding upwind for the amount of performance that you get out of that kite. Usually there's this really big trade-off between upwind ability and unhooked performance, and you don't give up that much with the FX, which is great. It's one of our go-to kites for sure. So I guess the last thing to talk about would be, who are these kites for? And the Switchblade, it's really for anybody, whether you're a new rider, you're an intermediate, or even an advanced rider. It's not going to hold you back by any means. It works great in the waves. Even if you're a wake style rider who likes to ride unhooked, the Switchblade is actually great. A lot of bar pressure. You know, you obviously have to learn to land and ride downwind when you're getting to more advanced tricks. And truth be told, for 99% of us, unless you're doing double handle passes, you really don't need anything more than a Switchblade. That said, with a kite like the FX, that slack is going to help a little bit if you don't quite have the arm strength to pull that bar into your hip. But beyond that, the Switchblade, it's a great contender for everything. Big air, free ride, freestyle, everything. Coming down to the FX though. So the FX, it's geared more for that rider who's looking to do some kite loops, who wants to get into big airs as well, but with that manual transmission feel. And then as well, the unhooked rider. So the FX really shines for that freestyle or wake styler who's looking for a little bit of extra slack. And some of the benefits here is if you are looking to unhook, it is going to make it easier. It's going to pop. When you're underpowered, it's still going to pop. And on top of that extra pop that you're going to get a little bit of slack. And the nice thing about slack is when you're going to go past the bar behind your back, or just do anything a little more advanced, even just landing blind, it'll just take some of the tension out of your lines and make your life a little bit easier. You know, that said, you can still do pretty much all of the wake style tricks on a Switchblade, no problem. But the FX absolutely offers some pretty distinct advantages for that rider who's looking to go specifically unhooked, or that rider that specifically wants to kite loop. Or like I said, just that rider who wants something a little bit different, just something that's going to take a little more skill on their end. And it is pretty fun. To tell you the truth, the first time I actually rode the FX, I absolutely hated it. It was a pretty gusty day and there was a lot of holes in the wind. I had been riding, you know, your standard SLE kites, kind of like the Switchblade, where I'm just used to having that consistent power band. I'm not used to having, or rather I wasn't used to having to use board speed, and it threw me off. 3 sessions in though, I got used to it, I understood the dynamics of the kite, and it really is my go-to kite now. When the wind is not gusty, FX, most days I'm gonna pick that kite. Hey guys, I hope this video helps. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to give us a call. You know, if there's something I missed, leave a message in the comments for us, and just let us know what you'd like to see. And of course, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Until next time, this has been Rygo here at Kite.